People who fix computers, laptops. What's the worst thing you found on someone's computer? Oh boy. The last company I worked for. I got a laptop back from one of the sales guys who was complaining that his computer was slow and kept crashing. He was the sort of guy who, rather than raise a ticket, sends an email with the entire exec team copied in about how he couldn't do his job because it were incompetent, etc, etc. Well, I got his laptop from him and noticed the hard drive was completely full. Most of the sales stuff is web-based, so there was no reason for the local drive to have anything on it. So, I had a look. Expertly hidden on his hard drive in a folder called Work Stuff was over 300 GB of naked pictures and videos of himself. Literally thousands of pictures of him naked. Videos of him dancing naked. Videos of him shoving things in his ass. One extremely awkward meeting with the guy's manager later. He was quietly let go. The inside of a heavy smoker's computer is beyond disgusting. It creates a fine orangish film that coats every single internal component. Smells wretched. And will become a noxious cloud if you try and blow it off. Just go outside to smoke. Seriously. Father-in-law got a new computer and wanted stuff transferred over. His old computer had viruses and ran like shit. Due to this, I tried to figure out what actually needed transferring rather than just transferring everything after cleaning it up. Stumbled upon pictures of him and dragged him getting a dildo shoved up his ass. Why do people insist on large thumbnails? Why? Was doing it at a law firm. Saw a folder called literally C. Dirty pics. Immediately opened folder. I mean, come on. Saw pics of almost every secretary in the firm naked. Buddy on my floor freshman year worked at the college help desk. A guy, who I actually knew through another friend, brought his computer in to get fixed. He was adamant about saving what was on the hard drive. My buddy saw some interesting file names and decided to look further. It was kiddie porn. Dude went to jail. My buddy had to testify at trial. Almost 5,300 pieces of virus, malware and spyware. I don't look at their files. My coworker asked me to fix his computer and I agreed since he was a nice guy. It turns out it was actually his 13-year-old son's computer. As soon as I got it, I knew it was a bad idea. It was disgusting. Covered in food particles and a white crusty residue I'm hoping wasn't preteen jizz. It wouldn't even boot up when I turned it on. But I managed to get inside with Windows Startup Repair. As soon as I logged in, I saw dozens of torrented video games and hundreds of GBs of porn. Oh boy. I ran a virus scan and it removed so many files that it corrupted the hard drive and prevented the laptop from booting. I spent over 20 hours trying to recover the hard drive, but it was royally ducked. I gave the laptop back to him after I was able to get it booted and agreed to stop fixing PCs on the side. Not on, but in. A guy I know that fixed computers for a living, years ago, had a customer bring in a computer stating that the floppy drive had stopped working. When he opened it up, he found cockroaches mashed against the read-write heads in the drive. He said he just closed it up and left it on the front step for the guy to come and retrieve. My friend's dad used to fix up old computers and laptops. And one day he told us about this time this elderly man came into his shop to get his old desktop fixed. So he drops it off. And immediately my friend's dad notices it smells off, and I mean very off. So he goes to fix it, and when he pops open the side, I shit you not, 20 cockroaches climb out of this thing and scatter away. On the inside is this rotten piece of meatloaf left over which has turned moldy black and gross. My friend's dad said he almost threw up in the moment and they had to call an exterminator to kill the roaches. He called the elderly man back to tell him about his computer troubles. Apparently the old man had dementia or something and thought the computer was a fridge. And he had stored his leftover meatloaf in there. Needless to say, they did not fix his computer. Well, I was asked to work on 2 laptops. One belongs to the lady's son and the other her daughter. Daughter's machine was alright. Just some tuning up. Son's machine. Well, I expected a 12-year-old to be looking at porn. But not. Dog porn. I don't mean furry. Just straight dog porn. Edit. Highest amount of upvotes is from a comment about bestiality. I'm so grateful. A search history of a 13-year-old kid. His mom brought his laptop in because it needed cleaned up. A search history that started pretty normal for someone getting into the whole porn watching thing like Les's humping and doggy style. As time went based on the timestamp of the searches. It only took 3 weeks to go from this to big black gangbang and granny squirters. Further on past these searches we got aggressive face ducking, which I feel is redundant since that seems to be an aggressive act by nature, and the most recent search I found was guys jerking off. So he went the whole spectrum from semi-normal searches to gay porn. I worked for my university's ed department in the laptop depot, so we basically would do any repairs on students, faculty, staff's laptops. We had this really solid warranty with Dell where they were 100% covered for 4 years. Even including intentional misuse, we saw all sorts of laptops full of dust, smoke, beer, wine, liquor. They would always say they spilled juice on their laptop. I got to the point where I could replace a motherboard on a Latitude D630 in under 5 minutes. The only time I ever saw a laptop that we refused to repair was one dude who barfed all over his. My boss just put on rubber gloves, put it in a plastic bag, and mailed it to Dell to be replaced. At my old job, some kid, prob 17 or 18 at the time, brought in his Asus gaming laptop for us to clean up. The thing was riddled with malware. Some of the files we had to manually delete. And when we went looking we found something interesting. He had hours of sex tapes with him and his girlfriend. Also keep in mind that this is when Windows 8.1 was new and the photo tile on the start menu cycled through saved content. When the kid came to pick up the laptop, the Photos app showed a preview pic with his GFs and his Pen 15 clearly inside her. We quickly flipped the laptop around claiming that we forgot to re-enable something and turned off the live tile feature so that the pics would show up. None of us that worked on the laptop said a thing to the kid or his dad when they came to pick it up. A crusty old man walked into the shop with a look in his eyes like a child who just stole from the cookie jar. The year is 2017, but he asks me if I can burn a CD for him. I am confused, but I indulge the customer's request. I asked him what he wants burned to the CD. He simply points to a folder titled New Folder. By instinct I double click. And in that moment what little innocence I had left died. Inside that indescribable folder, hundreds of pictures of what I'm assuming is wife in what can only be described as explicit positions. I'm sure she is a fine lady, but age has not been kind to her. The lack of hygiene and poor diet didn't help either. Frozen in place, only to be met with a simply indescribable grin and a slow nod. Never before in my life has I been that afraid, disgusted, and stunned. But I had a job to do. I grabbed a dusty old 700 millibar CD and burned those images to its form. It was done. The transaction was made. But I was robbed of my innocence and of my sanity. I hooked up with a girl from work and she asked me to fix her laptop. I found her wedding photos on there. Always check the ring finger, guys. Was she still married when you guys were dating? Yes. The marriage was a sham from day one. She married him for a visa. They were sleeping in different rooms and I wasn't the first affair, but yeah, she was still married. I don't fix computers, but my parents gave me a task of fixing the family computer. Few clicks here and there and I ended up on my sister's other Facebook account. She was selling herself over on FB. She posted her prices and schedule. She also had 100 plus messages from guys asking to meet up. I felt so sick. I told my dad, expecting him to talk to her about it. He ended up kicking her out that night. Our family hasn't been the same since then. Edit, spelling. My friend has a 10-year brother who wanted his computer fixed. It wasn't anything major, and all I had to do was clear and back up his files. I then decided to clear his history, because that can sometimes be a thing that slows your computer down. So I opened it. There was a ton of porn in his history. Mainly really messed up hentai. Worst of all, he caught me looking at this sheet. He got mad at me. And we never brought it up again. My brother works on laptops, and one time a guy came in to get Windows 8 put on his computer. This man was our old family friend, and while he was backing up files he found a video of the man's daughter. I won't go into details of what it is, for the sake of keeping my blood pressure down. But my brother immediately alerted the authorities, and the man is now serving a 12-year prison term. He's just lucky my brother was at his place of business, or I believe he would have held him instead of calling the law. Used to work at a small computer repair shop. Every now and then you'd find porn or something like that. Nothing too unusual. The worst part was usually the physical state of the machines. As a courtesy, the shop I worked for would always blow the dust out of systems that came in. Smokers' computers were the worst. Years of tar and dust buildup just would not come loose. There was one system that as soon as we opened it, we saw dozens of roaches inside. We quickly closed up the case, taped up all openings, stuck it in a bag and fumigated it. There was this other time that a customer brought their system in for weird performance issues. Turns out that their cat puked through the side vent all over the motherboard. Customer wanted to pay for us to clean it rather than replace it. I don't fix computers for a living, but my first home computer was one that used to belong to my dad. He did not do a very good job deleting his old files, and I stumbled upon his porn collection. I wish I hadn't. Dad is apparently a perv. I was fixing my sister's laptop because she said there was a virus running slow despite being new at the time. You know what I found? Almost 2 gigs of Mario Peach Rule 34. My sister was 7 at the time. I'm still confused by it. I used to work for a Native American tribe, and the tribe's lawyer was in us who demanded to be weighted on hand and foot. One day I was surfing through the program we used to remote into other computers, and it will take a screenshot of the last thing the computer was doing. There it was, he was looking at chicks with big dicks. I notified my supervisor, which he notified his supervisor. I was told to look the other way. I gave up. You want me to enforce policy on other users but not him? So I found a new job and quit. Not me, but a guy I used to work with. He found pictures of the owner dressed up as a baby and getting Coke cans shoved into his ass. Edit. After reading more of this thread, I realized that the question was intended to be geared towards malware, weird user practices, weird hardware failures, etc. Whoops lol. However, this is still a legitimate answer because it is definitely the worst thing I've heard of being found on someone's computer. Edit 2. Actually, after checking back in, I see that I'm not alone in answering the question with gross stuff. Someone once brought in a cooler to the repair shop. I was completely confused. Asked awkwardly if I could help the guy. Guy opens the cooler and hands me a freezing laptop that's keyboard is literally bowed out because of the ice that formed in the motherboard. Apparently the guy spilled water all over his computer, and his friend told him to put it in the freezer so it would turn into a solid. Dumbest thing I have ever experienced. Edit. He also said he put it in the freezer because he figured I could just chip the ice off and everything would be fine. I opened a laptop once and the background picture was a buff naked dude in the shower. I just looked at the guy and said, "Could you change your desktop? It's making me feel inadequate." One time a woman shipped her laptop to me to have it fixed from a satellite office. It just stopped working, she said. When I opened the box and took it out, a bunch of red wine leaked out of the case onto the floor. It's the worst thing that I've found because I hate red wine. Grade 10, I did an internship at a software place. Owner gives me a computer to fix something on. Says it's his son's computer. Well, what do you know? Boot up and there's a folder on the desktop leading right to a video of a lady being ducked by a horse. Does what I found in the keyboard count? I used to work in its support for a hospital. One of the PAs said her computer wasn't typing properly anymore. Called up, swapped out the keyboard and took the defective one back to the office. On examination, And after discreetly chatting with one of her colleagues, what we found was genuinely years of food particles under the keys. So many crumbs from hundreds of break time muffins and sandwiches had been dropped under the keys and compacted by typing that they couldn't be removed without a screwdriver and serious effort. We just dumped it into the medical waste incinerator. Used to work at a repairs and refurbish center. We worked on consoles and laptops. 4 laptops. Child porn. Happened maybe 3 times while I was there. Police are immediately called. 4 consoles. Cockroaches. None alive thankfully, but man. Just systems full of hundreds of cockroaches. Some of them fried on the board. The smell is even worse. We don't work on those. Even when it's working. For health and safety reasons. We bag those and throw it out. Some other common strange errors. Pet hair caught in cooling fan resulting in overheating. Consoles full of sand. Do you guys bring your console to the beach? Sticking stuff in the disk drive. Found $1 once. As well as Wind Waker in an X360. Not me. But one of my brothers in it. He worked at a third-party Apple dealership. And was doing a data transfer for a customer from their old machine to their new machine. They would set people up with their photos in iPhoto as part of these data transfers. When they were importing the photos, iPhoto shows each photo for a second as it imports. Most of the time, people will just minimize the window to respect the privacy of the customer. Well, that didn't happen and there were gigs and gigs of the customer, middle-aged mom, engaging in sexual acts with a dog. The worst part was, he had to help bring their new iMac out to their car when they came in to pick it up. And in the car was the dog in the pictures. Looking like a very sad doggo. He was really upset by the experience and needed to take a few days to reset. Doctors for some reason have the weirdest computers. Maybe because they are desensitized to normal humor or human interaction. A friend that was working on one in particular said that every icon on the desktop was of Emmanuel Lewis. You know, Webster. His background too. His picture folder was filled with pictures of Webster too. Super creepy. But technically not illegal. I remember a child in the school I worked at decided to try and search for great porn and woman being great, which immediately alerted our system. We tracked the laptop by its MAC address to where in the building it was assigned to, and this little creep was sitting in the back corner of the library. We had alerted the support team to approach him and asked him what he was doing, and he said he didn't know what grape was and just wanted to learn about it. Content. Fixed a personal computer for a lady at work. She said there's probably pictures of my friends and I at parties. You're welcome to look. Consider it my thank you for fixing my computer. She was a les. And not unattractive. Neither were her friends. All kinds of nude pictures of her and friends in various situations. Best day at work ever. Physical condition. Smokers. Always smokers. You smoke in front of your computer, the inside is going to look and smell like an ashtray. Absolutely disgusting. I don't fix computers for a living. But as the tech guy in the family, any problems would fall on me. My brother managed to get a real nasty virus. He had a secure browsing software to take tests on for school. This browser was just an eggs and wasn't installed. The virus only attacked this browser and flooded it with ads to the point to where you couldn't do anything. Deleted the eggs and downloading a fresh copy didn't help. It didn't affect Chrome, Firefox or IE. I had gotten this virus a few years earlier because I was confident in my ability to remove viruses. I should have known not to download from a Russian site. That virus survived every attack I threw at it, and I eventually had to reinstall Windows. I half expected to see it come back after the reinstall because of how nasty it was. When I saw it on his computer, I was given a second chance to take down this virus. After many hours of searching and posting in forums, no one else could figure out a way to get rid of it. I gave up and reinstalled Windows again. TLDR. A really nasty Russian virus that the internet had no known solution to get rid of. Dude was acting mighty shady. Luckily clients have to leave when we fix their sheet. Basically after virus scans figured out that he makes a living off of pirating and selling. Back in 2002 I worked at CompuServe and we ran across a horde of child pornography on a customer's computer. The guy was actually hosting an entire site from his system. I accidentally found nude pics of my mom while doing something on my dad's laptop. Never said anything about it. But some images are very hard to purge from your mind. On a laptop I once found bits of old ramen noodles under the keyboard. There were signs of liquid damage there too. Also, certain Mac laptops used a glue that smelled horribly of BO as it aged. Who knows what that odor hid? I found some shady stuff on a company's server and brought it to their HR manager's attention. Her response led me to end our business with the company that day. She really wasn't interested in hearing about it and told me that if I ever wanted to work for another company not to say anything or she would blackball me by calling every other large firm in the area. Long story short, I found proof that an employee was stealing from the company by taking royalties from a vendor that deliberately botched a project and was charging the company every month to fix it. GF at the time. We dated for about 6 months. She told me her computer was really slow and asked if I could clean it up. While cleaning it up, found her 6 videos of her and her ex. Yeah, that wasn't a very good day. My ex-in-law's computer took the sheet. So I pulled the HD out and installed as a slave in my machine to recover old photos onto a CD. This was a long time ago. I searched all the pic file extensions and all the folders that had them popped up. One of the folders was named ex-wife's middle name and mother's maiden name. I clicked on it and found my ex-wife's escort photos, profile documents, etc. Yeah. She left that little tidbit about being a prostitute out when we met and later got married. Words.